get there and you're like, okay. Okay.
Gremlin
like,
didn't know shit.
it's like,
Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
hey, everyone.
So we've got some exciting changes that are coming to the Universal Needs, which I think it's probably more exciting for us than it is for you, the listener. But I do think it will actually be better for everybody. So,
And all the needs are staying the same.
yes, yeah, for now. You never know what's going to happen. We'll say for now. No, so what we're going to do is that if you've been listening to us from the beginning, one, awesome job. Like it's over 200 episodes. Yeah, you. And even if you've only been listening for a while, you might have seen that we do up until this point, what we had done was we ran our seasons on like an annual basis. So we started with episode 1, and then we would run for 52 episodes, and that would be a season. Although I think it got a little bit, I think that what happened is, I'm just remembering this, like we were just going through them, like, that doesn't make sense. Why is 210 the end of this season? I think there was one season where we forgot and we went like 2 over by mistake, and we ended up with 54 seasons in that season or something. So anyway, we basically did it so that we did an episode per week all year round, which, while awesome, there's a lot to record. And it means that we don't get a break, but it also means that there's no break opportunities for you, the listener, which I think is really helpful, because I do think that there are some really good episodes that we've already recorded. And I think the good thing about having breaks is it gives you the opportunity to go back and find new episodes, or re-listen to something that maybe wasn't relevant to you when you first heard it, but maybe now is really relevant to what you've got going on in life. So we were debating what to do with this. And we were like, we felt like there are kind of 2 key points of the year, which are really important for people who are interested in the kind of stuff that we do. And those kind of 2 points of the year were sort of September and January. We also feel like the summer months, like a lot of people are kind of going on vacation, and maybe they're out of their routines and what have you. Same thing with the holidays, like that time of year gets a little kind of chaotic and there's lots going on. So what we've decided to do is we're going to finish out this season, which is not this episode. Next episode will be the last episode of our 4th season. It'll be episode number 52, episode number 52 of our 4th season. And then what we're going to do is, after that, we're going to be taking a break, and we're going to start again in September. And we're going to run our seasons from September through to the end of June, and take a break in December. So what that will mean is that we'll be releasing episodes September, November. No, there's another month in there, Claire. September, October, and November. We'll take a little break in December.
You've already figured it out. You're like, nope, we're busy.
Yes, that's it. I'm like too busy for episodes. Oh, are you okay? Did you miss your mouth? Should I carry on?
You probably should. I went to smell it. It's a new, it's not a kombucha, but it's something in that probiotic type of sphere. And it's guava and rose, and it smells beautiful. And I've never had it before. So I was smelling it as I was drinking it. Chewing gum and walking, another thing that challenges me. So yeah. Now I smell lovely, though.
I mean, there you go. You smell good. There's your win. So what we'll do is we'll release episodes September, October, and November. We'll take a little break in December, and then we'll release again January, February, March, April, May, and June. And then we'll take a little break in July and August. So what that means for you listening is that Next episode, as I said, will be our last one of this season, and then we'll be back in September. But we just wanted to give you a little heads up what's coming. Like, it's a big thing for us, and I think that because we've got so much work we're trying to do on the content side of things, it means that we have when we're breaking in with the podcasting, it allows us the opportunity to kind of focus more on content work, and also to take some breaks ourselves, because it meets your needs and all that sort of yummy stuff. So helpful for us to do it too. That whole walking our talk thing, we do our best with it. Oh, no, we're about to say something then. So, okay.
No, we have a little delay today.
Oh, we got a little delay. Okay, that'll be fun. So today we're going to talk about something that I think is really one of the most critical things that people can learn to do. Which is like, how do you build your capacity for discomfort? Because let's face it, life's not always comfortable. And actually some of the really important things that make a big difference to our lives are the things that are uncomfortable. And so I think that it's a big thing it was something that I learned when I was doing a very challenging course many, many years ago. I was like, being my little neurospicy self, I would like dive into the program and go deep with it and fall down every rabbit hole imaginable. And then I go, okay, now I'm overwhelmed. So I then like completely check out and like go and rest for a little bit. And then I dive straight back in again. And the person who was running the course said to me, how do you increase your capacity for discomfort so that you can stay engaged and not have to check out? And I was like, ooh, that's a really good question. Like, and that's, me being me, I'm like, ooh, how can I do that? I'll give you a hint, it's related to needs. So one of the things that, before we get really into the depths of this topic, the first thing that's really important to say is, we are talking about supportive discomfort, not unsupportive discomfort. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to our 2 episodes. We've got one on supportive discomfort and one which is on unsupportive discomfort, but I think it's something like why it's not always a good thing to make to get comfortable with being uncomfortable or something like that. And in those 2 episodes, we talk about the difference, because there is a type of discomfort which is supportive to you and your needs, and there's a type of discomfort which is unsupportive to you and your needs. We do not want to build our capacity for the one that is unsupportive, because basically unsupportive discomfort is your needs sending up a flare and the red flags are going up, going, there's something not quite right here. This doesn't work for us. It's negatively impacting us. This is like not good. Alarm bells are ringing, sirens are sounding, flashing lights everywhere. That's what unsupportive discomfort is. Supportive discomfort is the kind of discomfort that allows us to grow. It's the sort of discomfort that that we experience when we are doing something challenging, when we are stretching ourselves, when we are doing something different, when we are learning, when we are growing, when we are addressing the things that aren't great, but that need to be addressed in order for things to get better. And so when we're talking about discomfort and wanting to build our capacity for discomfort, it's really important that we focus on the supportive discomfort in this context. Now, it's so funny because I don't actually know where the idea for this podcast kind of came from. I think it might have come from a TikTok video, but yes, we're talking about microdosing discomfort. No, we're not talking about drugs. Let's just get that out of the way here. But if you think about it in the context of drugs, what microdosing is taking a teeny amount of something on a regular basis in order to build your capacity for it. And also you get benefits from it when you do that as well. Now, when we're talking about in terms of microdosing discomfort, is to intentionally go into situations that create that little bit of discomfort so that you can get used to being in discomfort. And also then once you get a little bit more, the more you do it, the more you build your capacity for discomfort, which means that you then can deal with larger and more significant types of discomfort. So if we start with the small stuff and build there intentionally, if we deliberately go into situations that are going to make us a little bit uncomfortable, that help us to learn and help us to grow and help us to figure out how to deal with these uncomfortable situations, and actually teach us, okay, we can deal with uncomfortable situations. Those are the things that are going to build our capacity, as long as we're doing it alongside the meeting of our needs. Unsurprisingly, the first thing I'm going to say here is always, always, always needs first. And we'll get into it a little bit more further down, but or further on. But yes, we need to take care of our needs, but also we need to consider what needs are likely to be up when we're in an uncomfortable situation. Now, it could be your foundation function need, because it could be like a physical discomfort that you're having. So like, for example, if you are exercising to build strength, for example, you might physically feel that discomfort as you are kind of doing something that's a little bit more intensive than you have done previously, in order to build muscle, in order to build like that sort of stretch when you're at that kind of cusp where it's feeling uncomfortable. That's normally the point where, not painful, but that slight discomfort is when you're kind of stretching the muscle the way it needs to be stretched. Same thing if you're lifting something that's heavy, that like point where it's like it's slightly uncomfortable, that's the point where you're actually going to be doing something good with it. So this could be with your foundation function need. But I think that this is and actually, just thinking about this, like foundation function need is a really good example of like, it's important to be understanding and discerning of where the difference is between supportive discomfort and unsupportive discomfort. Because like, if you're talking about like you're trying to build strength, or you're trying to build flexibility, and you're going to that slightly uncomfortable place in order for for the muscles to stretch a little, or for the muscles in order to build a little bit more, that's supportive discomfort, because we're doing it in a way that is supportive of our needs. If, however, you're feeling uncomfortable because you are massively dehydrated, we don't want to be extending that dehydration, because that's negatively impacting our needs. That's not supportive to our needs. That's working against us. Same thing with hunger. I noticed Serena's taking a sip as I'm saying this about hydration. I see what we did there. There are a lot of needs that sit in our foundation function need, where it doesn't help for us to be uncomfortable. And in fact, the discomfort that we are feeling is the flare going up from our foundation functioning, going, something's not quite right here. I'm feeling dehydrated. You need to hydrate right now. Something's not quite right here. I'm feeling hungry. I need some nourishment right now. Something's not feeling quite right here. My nervous system is dysregulated and I need to take some deep breaths, or do some vagus nerve work, or do something that's going to help with regulating my nervous system. So foundation function need is a really clear indicator of where, okay, here's the difference between what supportive discomfort can look like and unsupportive discomfort. But when we're talking about discomfort normally comes when there is a risk to our needs. Normally that's the discomfort that we're talking about when we're speaking about it from a more kind of emotional, mental side of things. And so the chances are it could be a lot of needs that could be up when we're talking about discomfort. So, for example, our security need is potentially going to come up if we're in the discomfort, because depending on the situation. So, for example, like if I'm wanting to have a difficult conversation with my boss about a situation at work, well, my security need might be up, because it might be like, well, if this doesn't go well, could this cause me problems at work? Could this cause me problems with hanging on to my job? Because it could cause me problems with being able to provide for myself, all of those kinds of things. Even if it's in a different situation, like if you're having a conversation with a friend of yours and you're worried that they're not going to want to be around you anymore, you feel less safe and less secure in that situation. So your security need is one of them that's likely to be firing off. As we just talked about, love and connection could be one. So it may not be that the need is being impacted in this moment, but normally the discomfort is the fear of it being negatively impacted by the situation. So for example, if like Serena and I there's a situation that we need to discuss relating to our friendship, that my love and connection need could be up, because it could be like, well, if this doesn't go well, am I going to have less of my love and connection need being met? Now, bear in mind, a lot of people are dependent on other people for their needs getting met. Now, obviously, you can learn to meet these needs for yourself, which is what we're all about, what we're teaching. But the reason that these needs, there's such a kind of emphasis on them, we're so triggered by the risk of these needs being unmet, is because a lot of us are depending on other people. So like if we're having a difficult situation, we're in an uncomfortable situation with somebody else, the risk is not just to the relationship. The risk is often well, if this person goes away, they will also take away the things that they've been doing to meet my love and connection need, emotional experience, expression need, value need, whatever it is. So that's the reason that these needs to tend to be up. So the more we meet these needs for ourselves, the less that these needs are going to be at risk and the easier this is going to become. But I wanted to just mention that that's one of the reasons that this can be, that the discomfort is so pronounced. So love and connection is another one. Our emotional experience expression, we're like, okay, if this goes in a way other than the way I would like it to go, I might end up feeling some stuff that I don't really want to be feeling. So your emotional experience expression need could get met. Your value need could be met. So it'd be like, if this doesn't go well, I might internalize that. Is there something wrong with me, or I'm not important enough to somebody to deal with the situation in a way that works for both of us? So your value need could be compromised. It could be that you're in the point where like, oh, if I don't deal with this situation, then all my other needs are going to be compromised. So I don't have a choice. I have to deal with it this way. And as soon as you get into that I don't have a choice, your personal power need is up. So there's a lot of needs that are likely to be up when we are talking about discomfort. And depending on the situation will depend on which needs those are. So it's really important to be aware of this in order that you can take special care of those needs and be aware of, okay, I get that by having this conversation, this need is up right now. So as I'm entering into this conversation, I'm probably going to want to take care of that need. I'm probably going to want to maybe take care of it as I'm having the conversation, in order that we are supporting our needs as best we can. Because if our needs stay supported, it makes it easier to be in that space of discomfort without it really triggering us.
I think it's important to mention that your needs can be up without them pulling the strings. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, let's say there's something that Claire and I need to talk about, like that emotional experience expression need could be up and I can meet it and it can still be present. Like it can still be something that I'm like, be aware of this, but I don't have to worry, since I've met that need, that need is going to be like, she can't do it on her own, so I'm pulling all the strings for her.
Right.
Like,
it's not going
to it doesn't eliminate the need from being like
present.
You can meet it and it's still a need that you need to be aware of.
Right. Just because you know how to meet your needs doesn't mean to say that they stay met. It's not a one and done thing. You don't meet them once and then it's done. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to navigate your way through life and have situations that could risk them, could negatively impact them. But in that situation, if you know how to meet your needs for yourself and they get negatively impacted, you're aware of that impact and then you do something to meet them. So it means that it no longer it's not sitting underneath the surface and as an unmet need. It's our unmet needs that sit under the surface and pull the strings. So it's like, it's only if our need sort of gets unmet and stays unmet, that's when it starts to steer the ship in whichever direction it feels like, and normally not in a good way. Like we're not normally heading in a like iceberg dead ahead. That's kind of where we end up heading. And so, so it's like, if you know how to meet the needs for yourself, it doesn't stop them from coming up. It doesn't stop them from being a risk factor in having sometimes these uncomfortable conversations. But what it does is it means that when they come up, you can then do something about them. It's only when they get unmet and stay unmet, that's when they start grabbing the steering wheel. And that's not good for anybody. So one of the ways that there's lots of different ways that you can microdose discomfort, and it depends on the situation. So if it's something for yourself, if like you're wanting to learn or grow something, so if you're wanting to grow, you might engage in a space of discomfort because when you don't know something, you feel a little less secure. So and you have to be willing to be bad at something in order to learn something. Like you have to be willing to make mistakes in order to learn anything. Like you're not going to get everything right 100% first time straight off the gate, and that's just how it's going to work. I mean, where would be the fun in that? I mean, you might get to do some fun stuff because you could do more things quickly and easily, but no, there's no fun. Like that doesn't actually meet your need for growth, because like you're not really growing in that moment. Like that process of like not quite getting it right, then learning how to change and doing and developing and learning some more, and then being like, I mean, reminds me of the time that we were out the back of Serena and Joe's RV. We we were practicing poi, and there'd been something, and I mean, to say I got it wrong over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for a very long time. I had smacked myself in the head more times than I care to mention trying to learn this particular technique. But the joy I felt once I got it, like, because I'd overcome and I'd been in that space, I'd been willing to be in the space of discomfort in order to grow and to learn and to do something better. That was a great thing for me. So it's like, so this is one way in which discomfort might show up. It also is likely to show up in situations with other people, because we are not carbon copies of each other. We're not little clones who all get our needs met in exactly the same ways and therefore can do everything in a way that works for everybody seamlessly without any effort. No, we're all very different, and we're all at different points in our needs at the same time. So like my needs might be well met, Serena's might not be well met because of the situation that she's in, or vice versa, which means that interacting with each other, there might be negative impacts that are going to happen. And so sometimes that discomfort comes from navigating how our needs have been compromised or unmet, or in a relationship, and trying to close that gap and get to the point where our needs become better met in a way that works for both people, not just for one of us. And so sometimes that discomfort is like having to deal with another person when what you want, what each of you wants, is not exactly the same thing. And so like that discomfort is like, how do we navigate that? There's lots of different ways that this discomfort can show up. So let's give some examples of things that you can do to microdose discomfort in order to build your capacity for it. So likewise, we were talking about like learning and growing something. That microdosing discomfort might be you try a little bit of something. So for example, another example from my life, I'm learning to crochet at the moment. And I've never done it before. And I would do it like in small bits. I'm not going to try and crochet this massive, like detailed, complicated thing right off the bat. But I'm also not going to push myself to do 8 hours of crocheting in one go. I'm going to start small. I might do 20 minutes and then I'll put it down and I'll walk away from it and I'll come back. And because if you're at that point where it can be a little frustrating because you're not quite getting it yet, you do that on and on and on and on and on for like hours and hours at a time, the negative impact to your needs is going to be quite significant. Whereas if you can get a little frustrated and go, okay, I'm going to step away from it for a second, step away from the crochet needle, and then I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to try something, and then I'm going to come back to it and I'll do a little bit more of it, and then I'll go away, and then I'll come back, and then I'll try a little bit more of it. By doing it in small increments, it means that you're not going to be as overwhelmed by the discomfort when it happens. And the needs that are up, they might be impacted a little bit, and then you can go back and re-meet those needs, versus, oh my God, I've devastated all my needs because I've been trying to do this for 8 hours now, and I'm beyond frustrated with the entire thing. Then you got to go, and then you got to really take a long time and effort to build your needs back up again to get back to the place they were before. So that's like when we're talking about in the terms of like learning and growing, that's what microdosing can look like. It can be like little bits, little and often, in order to build the capacity. And also because then you're going to learn, like you are going to improve, but you want to balance up the frustration with the learning. And sometimes the frustration when you're trying something challenging that you've never done before, the frustration can be kind of high to begin with. So by doing it in small bits, it allows us to manage that and then rebuild those needs that have been maybe impacted by the frustration in order to get to the stepping stones that we want to get onto when it comes to learning. One of the biggest places that this shows up is in interpersonal relationships. Like, this is huge. And it is one of the things that causes the most problems in interpersonal relationships, is people's unwillingness to have the uncomfortable conversations. Their unwillingness to be uncomfortable in order to get to a point where both people feel more comfortable. And so one of the things that you can do in terms of like microdosing the discomfort when it comes to the relationship side of things is having those clearing niggles conversations. Now, if you don't know what clearing niggles are, go back and we have a whole episode just specifically on that. I think it's in our friendship series. Now, if you don't know what a niggle is, it's a very British term for like the little things that kind of irritate you a little bit. Maybe they're not big things, but they're just a little frustrating, a little annoying. And when you're talking about that in the context of a relationship, now there's another version of this also, which you can do with yourself, which we're going to get to in a second. But when we're talking about in relationships, the niggles are the things that if you don't address them, become the big things, or they compound and make the big things more triggered and more amplified. So when we're talking about microdosing, we're talking about either things that are small, i.e. they're not that big of a deal, or they're not going to take a lot of time to do. They're the things that aren't very emotionally charged, because the more emotional charge around it is, the more uncomfortable it's going to be, the more capacity you need for it. So if we can get used to doing little kind of small and often with this microdosing, then we'll get to the point where we have the capacity to deal with larger kind of types of discomfort. So one of the ways that Serena and I have got to the point where we can have the real uncomfortable conversations now. We have, like, there have been multiple times where we're like 4 hours into a conversation and both of us have been in tears and what have you. But the reason we've got to the point where we can have those conversations is because we've been clearing niggles to allow ourselves to figure out and navigate how to have the uncomfortable conversations. And the niggles, it's not that big of a deal. If I bring a niggle to Serena and say, hey, I want to address this, and she doesn't respond particularly well to it, okay, that's a conversation to be had, and we've got to figure out how to navigate that. But it's not going to impact me the same way as if it's like this earth-shattering deal breaker that I have to have addressed in the right way possible. And so it's by figuring out bringing those little niggles. Every time you do it, it's like, oh, it's still a little uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, to the point now where most of the time, if we're clearing niggles with each other now, I don't think it really feels uncomfortable at all. Like the larger conversations, there's some discomfort around, but I don't really feel much discomfort, if any, when it comes to the niggles now.
It's actually pretty natural. And even the same thing with like me and Joe. It's just, you just kind of, it's like, hey, can I clear something? Like it's kind of, I used the term before, like pass the salt. It's just like, there's no charge to it anymore, where when we first started becoming something in, my world, it was like, oh, I gotta say niggles because, need to clear these, but I don't really know how they're gonna react. And you get to learn a lot about somebody when you're like going through this process, and especially when it's in the microdosing form, because it's a toe tapping where it's not like you're not going to get the full on, emotional buildup of something that's a huge issue. So you can learn how to address things. You can learn what people's triggers are, like by clearing niggles, which is, it's a very helpful tool.
Right. Well, and it's like, when you're doing this to begin with, it's really important at the beginning to do this with people who you are close with and who it feels safe to do this with. Like if you have someone in your life who takes every tiny thing as a major criticism and blows up over nothing, this is not the person to build your discomfort with. Nope. Now, you might want to build discomfort elsewhere, so you have the capacity to come and then address the situation with this person, which is a lot of the time what's happened. It's like, okay, I got to build my capacity for discomfort. So this one that's going to be even more uncomfortable, I've got the capacity now to deal with it because I know how to navigate that. But you're going to want to do it with somebody who you think is not going to judge you. You think is going to want to figure it out with you. Somebody who cares as much about things working for you as they do working for them. In order that, because I know if I go to Serena and I tell her about a niggle, 9 times out of 10, she'll say thank you to me for letting her know. Like, not only is that not uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, like she wants to know the things that don't work for me so that we can find a way of doing it that works for both of us. Like that's pretty significant, like that, especially when most people are terrified of having these conversations because they're worried the other person isn't going to give a shit or is going to be so focused on their stuff that your needs or wants are not going to come into the picture. So you want to have these conversations, and like I know this now. Did Serena start by saying thank you when I started clearing needles with her? No. It was very uncomfortable for both of us at the beginning, where it was like, oh, I'm sorry. Ew, yeah, yeah. Okay. It was like, yeah, it really was like that. I mean, it got real awkward at the beginning. But because I trusted that Serena was somebody who would want to know about this, because we wanted to have a close friendship, I trusted that we would figure it out, and we did. But it's through doing it that we figured it out. You don't figure this stuff out by avoiding it. You only figure it out by doing it. And the more you do it, the more you figure it out, the easier it becomes, the more your capacity becomes for that discomfort. I'm pausing because I know we've got a little delay. I don't want to keep going.
Yeah, no. And I was thinking, but I think it would throw the train completely off the tracks. So you know what, I'm just gonna gracefully move on. Yes, I'm sure.
So when we are just before I kind of get on to the next piece, I do want to talk briefly about clearing niggles with ourselves. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're clearing niggles with somebody else, normally it's something the other person's doing that's bothering you, and that you want to address it and find a way of doing it that works for both of you. When you're addressing niggles with yourself, these are the small things that you're doing or not doing which are bothering yourself. So these are the things where it's like, okay, I want to face the fact that this is something that I really want to do and I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing it? What needs am I trying to meet by not doing it? So you can start to go into these things, but it's sometimes uncomfortable to hold that mirror up and look at, what are these behaviors I'm doing? Why am I doing them? How is it affecting me? And that's the reason, again, like when it comes to addressing, like holding the mirror up and looking at the stuff, the choices that you're making, it's way easier to do that with the small stuff than it is to dive into the big stuff. Like, if you're making some like major life choices on the regular that are not serving you, I wouldn't start there. Like, start with the small things. And it's like, well, actually, if I'm doing this for this reason, if I did this and this might actually, oh, look, I'm doing something different now. So you can find ways of starting to shift these behaviors. And also, once you recognize that you can do it because you've started to do it, it builds your trust in yourself to get to the point where you can deal with these bigger things. So I just wanted to mention that the niggles thing can be a you thing, and it can be with other people as well.
Well, I think it's important to start with yourself as well, just because, like, you need to know how you're going to react in these situations. Like, I mean, holding the mirror up has been some of the most uncomfortable things that I've done in my journey, just to be like, oh, I can see this now. Like, oh yeah, now it's there. Can't unsee what I'm seeing. And like, you get to work through it on your own to see what the actual process is. And it makes it a little less scary when you've done it for yourself a couple of times to go into a relationship or with somebody that you trust and feel close with and feel safe with, and then do it with them. And it's just like that little stepping stone to get you closer to just feeling more comfortable in that supportive discomfort.
Right. And I mean, and if you haven't already listened to it, go back and listen to our previous episode where we talked about the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and how to, because when you're talking about clearing niggles with yourself, it's normally about things that you've done. So it's like, okay, that I should have done it differently. That's your indicator to maybe look at it and go, okay, there's something here that needs addressing. Stepping into that space is you stepping into that discomfort, is you microdosing that discomfort and looking at it. Why am I doing this? What needs are up? What's the situation? What was I trying to create? And looking at shifting from that shoulda, woulda, coulda to the want to, could do, will do, because that then will put you on a path where you're going to be able to start to make some changes on this. And once you start to make changes, you can build trust with yourself that you can and will make changes, so that when you're dealing with the bigger things, there's already that kind of foundation of trust that's like, okay, I've addressed the small things. I know I can do this, and I know I am somebody who does do this. So if we're dealing with the bigger things, then it's a little safer for me to go into that, because I already have this foundation that I built within myself. So this is true when dealing with these things with yourself or with others. When you are thinking about having these, going into these situations and addressing, like going intentionally into the discomfort, make a choice over when to do this. because it's really important to recognize, especially right now, times are challenging. It's kind of uncomfortable generally in life right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that people are dealing with. And there's never going to be a time when everything is fine and dandy and there's no issues at all. And you can choose your timing on this. So there are less likely to be more needs that are up and more unmet needs that are going to be contributing to the situation if you find that kind of ebb where there's a little bit less going on. Because if you are already dealing with a whole bunch of stuff yourself, and if the other person is already dealing with a bunch of stuff themselves, you're navigating more unmet needs in how you're having this conversation. The better resource you are, the better the conversation is going to be. So you want to make sure that you and they are likely to be resourced enough to do this. Like, you want to be aware of like how life and situations are impacting you and your needs, and make sure that you're in a point in time where that's going to be minimized in order for you to start doing this. And next obvious step is make sure your needs are well met before going into it. So take a moment to resource yourself, to look at like what needs are unmet right now. How can I take a moment to meet those needs? How can I start to move forward in getting them better met, so that as I start to move in that uncomfortable place, as I said, part of the discomfort is that fear or that risk of the needs being unmet. If your needs are already unmet, that fear feels even more amplified. Whereas if your needs are already met, that fear is going to be significantly less, because if they do get met, well, they're already met. You're not going into the negative at this point. It's like, okay, well, if they get unmet, well, I can meet them again. That's okay. I know how to do that. And that the fear of it is going to be significantly less if you are already resourced. The other thing is that when you are in the moment of discomfort, take a moment while you are in the moment. Like, you don't have to be like in the middle of a moment with Serena where I'm going, sorry, I've just got to take a moment. We're in the middle of this conversation. I know, but I'm going to take a moment right now. I'm just take a moment and acknowledge I'm in the discomfort. It's not killing me. It's bearable. Take a moment and breathe into that. Look at me. I'm doing this. It's okay. Yes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable in places. That's kind of what discomfort is. You can do things in that moment to support your needs. So you take some deep breaths, or you can be mindful of like, okay, my value needs talking to me right now. I'm going to take a moment, just say to myself, you're worthy of having your needs met, or you're enough right now. Or your security need might be firing off. So it might be like, okay, take a moment, feel my feet on the earth, like ground my energy and start to feel more centered in myself. So there are things that you can do, but it's actually really helpful if you're in the discomfort and you take a moment inside of it to go, I'm in it, I'm doing it. Because 9 times out of 10, it's nowhere near as bad as the anticipation of the discomfort is going to be. And taking a moment to name that and be like, this actually isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, it's not fun, but it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it'd be, because it's that kind of mental checkpoint then that if you think about doing it again in the future, you can be like, okay, I remember this. I know the anticipation feels real rough, but actually once I go into it, it's not that bad, which means it increases your motivation to get into it quicker and to address it faster, because the anticipation's the really uncomfortable piece. The actual doing the uncomfortable thing, generally speaking, a lot easier.
Yeah, we'll spin ourselves into, the gremlin that we've talked about. If you haven't listened to that episode, we'll put it in the show notes. But like, that gremlin will pop up and be like, it's gonna be like this, and go to the worst case scenario. And they will create a story of how it will be the worst decision you ever made to step into this supported discomfort space. And it's like, you get there and you're like, okay.
Gremlin didn't know shit.
I can deal with this. I can handle this. And like we were saying earlier, it gets to a point where it does start feeling natural. And I wouldn't say it's comfortable for us to like address niggles and to, step into that uncomfortable space.
I don't
but
know.
At the same,
I kind of feel like it almost is now. Like, it does feel comfortable to do that. Like, if it's a small thing, it's like if it's a little bit bigger, then maybe there's still a bit of discomfort there. But I almost get to the point where like, it does feel comfortable to do that now with you.
Yeah, because it feels, I guess the thought for me is it feels uncomfortable to think about not doing so. Like now I think about
Ooh, yeah,
not addressing things, and I'm like,
yeah.
nope, nope, let's just get this
It doesn't
done
feel
and
good.
over with. Time is not going to help this gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's,
Right.
I think it in that kind of contrast, that's how I think of it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it
Well,
is
and the interesting thing
more
is
comfortable
that
to step in.
that discomfort is unsupportive discomfort, because that's where it's going to be negatively impacting your needs, and there's no benefit to
Mm-hmm.
not having the conversation. So it's like there's no constructive benefit to it, and it's negatively impacting your needs. So it's like, if I go into this, okay, it might be a little uncomfortable, but it's supportive discomfort, and I know I can do that because I've done it a million times now. Versus if it's the other option is unsupportive discomfort. No, that's a hard pass for both of us. It's like, oh no, I'm taking the supportive discomfort every time over that other one. But I said,
Mm-hmm.
I really am at the point now where with the small things, like genuinely, there's been so many times where I'm like, this really isn't a big deal. I just want to clear this with you. And I feel comfortable in the process of doing that. And I never thought I probably would get there. But I think that, yeah, the bigger it gets, there's still a little bit of that discomfort there. But I also think that the more of these conversations we have, the more trust there's built between the two of us. So I feel safer having those conversations. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what, like the risk of my needs being negatively impacted is so low now because of the trust that we've cultivated, where I'm like, oh no, I totally trust that this is going to be fine because it's been fine. We've dealt with far worse than this. Like, there's no way
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be the thing that's going to cause a massive rift between us, because look, we dealt with this and that, and that was absolutely fine. So I think that that's also one of the things around it. The other thing is that once you kind of come out the other side of the microdosing, the discomfort, is to meet your needs afterwards as well, especially the needs that have been negatively impacted. And this is the big one: meet your acknowledgement need. Take a moment to acknowledge yourself for going into the discomfort, for building your discomfort, for having the uncomfortable conversation. Because when you do that, what you'll do is you'll make it, the hit that you're going to get, the benefit you're going to get from meeting that acknowledgement need for yourself is going to have you more inclined to want to do those things in the future. And I think that's, I think that's kind of what, I mean, goes back to, I think, what you were just speaking about, which is the difference between I don't want to do this and I'm reluctantly going to force myself to do it, and I do want to do this even though it might be momentarily uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that once you get to that place, it's like, no, I want to do this and I can feel I want to do this, so let's just do it. And yeah, there might be a little blip in the middle, but it is a blip these days. Like, it is like the tiniest micro blip of a thing. So I do think that that's a really important thing, because the more you support your needs afterwards, but especially the acknowledgement need that is going to encourage you to do more and more of these things, the easier it's going to be for you to continue on this path. The other thing that is really important through this is be aware, if you can, of what your nervous system is doing and where your nervous system is at. The more you can do to support your nervous system and regulate it before, during, and after this, the better. Like, if your nervous system is massively dysregulated, that's going to be your indicator this is probably not the time to do this. So what we want to do is take some time to regulate our nervous system in order, that's part of that kind of building the resources to be able to have the conversation. So by regulating your nervous system, you'll have those resources to do it. But also, as you're through it, like, I mean, even just like, we can be in the middle of an uncomfortable conversation. The number of times that we've sat across from each other mid conversation, and either one of us, the other of us, or both of us is like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
big deep breath, or we'll like reach out and squeeze the other one's hand, or we'll give each other a hug, or we'll put a reassuring hand on the other one's back, or we'll do some stimming or something that's going to help to regulate our nervous system. That your nervous system is your like support buddy through this. And if you are pushing your nervous system to the point it is dysregulated, that might be your indicator you're going a little too big. You want to get to the point where you're moving in alignment with your nervous system. And what you'll find is that your nervous system will be able to cope with larger and larger and larger things the more of this that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a flip side to this. Those are all really important things if you are the one who is microdosing discomfort, intentionally putting the effort in, doing it. The other side of this is if you are on the receiving end of it. Because if you are on the receiving end of the uncomfortable conversation, you haven't necessarily chosen to do it in that moment in time. This is something that's come from somebody else. First things first, it's important for you to meet your needs in the moment, because there may be some stuff that comes up as a result of, oh, it's an uncomfortable situation and I'm in it now and okay, here we go, because immediately you get hit with the risk of all of those needs that the other person may have had a little bit of time to kind of come to the what's the word I'm looking for? Come to terms with the fact that there's going to be a risk to these needs because I'm doing this. If you're in it because somebody's already sudden brought it to you, immediately your nervous system can go, oh, danger, run away. That's your moment to take a pause, support your needs, support your nervous system, which is part of your foundation function need. Because this is an invitation to yourself to also step into this supportive discomfort. Like when this happens, this is a gift that's being presented to you. Your nervous system and your needs just don't know it yet. Because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't know that there is a single one of these situations that hasn't unfolded in a way which has supported me, even if it wasn't the way that I wanted it to. Because either it's brought me closer with somebody who I absolutely want to be closer with because that person shows up in a way which is supportive, who is cares about my needs as well as their own, and is looking for a way of doing relationship that works for both of us. Or it's shown me very clearly this is not somebody who I can have these conversations with, and so that person naturally slips out of my orbit. If you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to the relationship orbits episode, because it shows you the people who you can trust. It shows you the people who are safe. It shows you the people who you can have these close relationships with. And while you might not want to know, because maybe you want that person to be close and they don't really deserve to be close because they don't have the capacity to have the closeness that to do relationship in a way that means it's appropriate for them to be close to you. It's always going to be better for you to know that and to adjust, for your relationship to adjust accordingly, than to have somebody close who you cannot trust to navigate a situation mindfully, respectfully, and in a way that is supportive of both people when these things come up. So it's always going to be in your benefit, even though it might not feel like it in the short term. And you can have your feelings about that. Absolutely, perfectly human and valid and right. And it's important for you to process those emotions as they're coming up. What it doesn't mean is that we want to hold this person close who shouldn't be there, because they're going to cause you probably further impacts by being that close to you.
And so bigger impact.
Oh, right.
Like if you don't address something with somebody because you want to keep them close and you're afraid it's going to move you apart, and you don't address it, I'd almost put
you can end up with a freaking crater.
Yeah, it's just gonna grow. It's just gonna compound. It's like the niggles. Like it's gonna be there, and
or something else is going to come along that becomes this like, it's like, oh well, we've had this like little kind of asteroid that I don't know space things, so if I'm using the wrong terms, please forgive me. Like imagine like you've got this like little teeny tiny asteroid that comes off and like just kind of skims off your surface and leaves a little teeny tiny mark, but you don't address it, and the next thing you know, it's a massive meteor that slams into the side of you and creates this huge crater, because you haven't figured out that this is somebody that when shit goes awry, you can't handle it with them because they don't have the emotional intelligence, capacity, or desire to navigate those situations in a way that works for both people. And that's where you kind of get into this kind of, and it really does fire up your security need, because emotionally you're not safe around those people, because you never know what they're going to do. And you're kind of at the mercy of them, because if Serena goes sideways and smashes into me, I'm like, dude, whoa, what the hell was that? We have the conversation. She goes, oh, my bad. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Or my course coordinates were set. Like, let me fill back in the crater and plant some nice things in it and water it. And they're okay. We made amends. And now, okay, I'm going to hang out here by next to you. So, you know, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm also not going to smash into you. Like, we have that conversation, because I trust that it's going to be dealt with in a way that's going to be supportive of my needs and Serena's needs as well. But if you have someone who's going to basically like smash and run, like, you end up with a massive crater, and then they're like, oh shit, that's uncomfortable, bye. Like, that's not good. That's not helpful for anybody in the situation. So the first and most important thing, if you're on the receiving end, take a moment to take care of your needs. Take a moment to regulate your nervous system. Foundation, function, taproot of your universal needs tree. It's really essential. It's the most important one to take care of first and foremost. Take some deep breaths, regulate your nervous system, take a moment to ground your energy, meet your security need, like take care of the needs that are the ones that are most up. And then what you want to do is you want to respond to somebody bringing something to you in the way that you would want somebody to respond if you were bringing something to them. And in a way that's going to encourage them to do this more, because it's this stuff. It's the richness. It's the juice of the relationship. Like without these conversations, the relationship stays pretty superficial. Like, it's that allows you to create depth. It's that allows you to create complexity. It's that allows you to really build trust. It's that really builds connection. And so you want more of this, because ultimately, if the relationship isn't working well for both people, it's not working well for anybody. So we want to be able to address these things to find the ways of doing relationship that work for both people. So one of the things, and this is something that Serena does almost, I would say a good 90% of the time that I bring something to her, she thanks me for sharing. She thanks me for letting me know that there was something that isn't working for me. And by her thanking me, it's not like she's not just tolerating this. She's not going, oh, okay, well, let's deal with the niggle then. Okay, fine. No, she's going, thanks. I want to know about this, because if I'm negatively impacting you and I didn't know about it, then absolutely I want to know about this, because there'll be a way of doing this that's going to work for both of us. We just have to find it. But I need to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and vice versa, in order for us to figure out what that is. This is somebody who's like showing by their actions they want to create a better relationship. So if somebody brings something to you, take that moment, take care of your needs, and then thank them for letting you know. Make it as safe a space as you can for them to continue to do this. Work through it with them. And one great tool that I often use with my couples clients with this is the ideal world technique. We talked about this previously on the podcast, I'm sure, where, okay, you're trying to figure out what's going to work for both people. One person shares, okay, in an ideal world, this is what I would like to happen. The other person shares, in an ideal world, this is what I would like to happen. So each of you knows what the other wants, not what you think the other person's going to be okay with, but what in an ideal world you want. And then you use that and try and figure out how do you move towards each other based on the ideal world. Because it may be that one person says, well, my ideal world is this. And the other person goes, oh, that's way better than what I had in mind. Yeah, let's do that. Or it might be that the ideal worlds aren't quite in alignment, but with a little maneuvering, you can get towards each other. And when you do that, it shows you're demonstrating that you really want this relationship to work for both people. And what that does is it builds the resilience of the relationship. It cultivates trust. It cultivates that bond. It cultivates connection. And what I mean by the resilience of the relationship is really what I think that Serena and I have with my friend Sharona. And it's like, literally, I can count on less than one hand the number of people I have this with, where I trust that I literally cannot think of anything that is in the realm of possibility of something that Serena would do, or vice versa, that I think would break our relationship. Like, yeah, if she went rogue and decided to start doing a bunch of shit that's totally out of whack with her values, that may do it, but that's not who she is. Like knowing who she is as a person and knowing who I am as a person and how we've shown up for each other, that resilience is the relationship's ability to withstand challenges. And I think like we've proven it over and over and over again. And as a result of that, while it might be uncomfortable, I still always feel safe if I'm bringing that to Serena.
Yeah, I'd
I would
agree
say
from my
vice
end
versa,
too.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like there have been times where I'm like, ugh, all right, we gotta fucking do this. We gotta do this. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, no, people really don't want to be uncomfortable, but it doesn't, like we were saying earlier, it's not really uncomfortable anymore. It's like it's like a momentary thought of discomfort rather than like this is going to be an uncomfortable situation. Because whenever I've come to Claire with something, we get into the situation, it's like, oh, thank God we're just doing this. Like it's you know, there's a relief as it's happening, and you can feel the relationship getting closer because it's also not bullshit. Like we're like there's action that goes along with it. There's emotion that goes along with it. It's not some of this stuff you could just put the words to it. You could say the things, but you have to be doing the things. You have to be embodying it as well.
Right. Well, and I actually think that thought, this has just come to me as we're talking about this. I actually think a lot of the times that thought is the echoes of the previous patterns. Like it's like the fear of like what's happened in the past. Because if I think about bringing something to you, there's not really like based on how we are now and who we are now and the relationship we've built now, there doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of risk in that at all. I think that momentary thought goes like I have that part of my brain that goes, oh, remember all those times it didn't work with all those other people? That was scary. And then, oh, no, it's Serena. Okay, let's do this. And I think that's how you get to the point of cultivating this is by having these conversations and being willing to. And the second that somebody responds in that way, where they stay open, they don't get defensive, they don't try and explain and justify why they were doing things. They just want to know what works for you. And then they want to share what works for them so you can find a way that works for both of you. The second you're in that space, that's the point of like, this is the kind of relationship that I want. This is the kind of place that feels safest. And at that point, that not only does it not feel uncomfortable anymore, it feels more like there's more, like it's not like you feel the love, you feel the connection, you feel the trust, you feel the bond. And that momentary piece of discomfort is like a speck by comparison, because it's like, oh, if I got to go through that to get all of this, oh, fuck yeah, that's absolutely worth it. Let's do it. And so the more you do, the more you microdose this by doing these small things. Like, and Serena and I did this through the small things. Like we didn't do things through the big things. Like it wasn't like we dove straight in with like, I mean, I think the first time it happened was over having lunch. Like it was an average Tuesday, I think it was. It wasn't anything significant. It was anything important. It was in the grand scheme of things. But being able to do it on that, and I'm like, okay, and here's the thing, like if Serena reacted badly to that one, the lunch thing, it'd have been like, oh, well, if it's something more serious, then I absolutely can't trust her with that. But because she reacted in a way that I was like, oh, cool, this is someone I can do this with. Awesome, let's do it. Okay, now I feel more confident going into those slightly more uncomfortable spaces with the bigger things, because we're not just talking about, as I said, we're not just talking about the small amounts. Microdosing is not just the small amounts. It's also the less charged situations. It's the low risk situations. It's the low risk conversations. So it's like, I don't know. Hey, can I just clear something? Every time you come over and you get a seltzer, you put it on my coffee table without a coaster. Would you mind putting a coaster in, like in the future? Just because I've had issues in the past where things have warped and it's ruined my furniture. Like if it's that sort of a thing, and Serena's like, no. I'm like, okay.
Fuck your coaster.
But here's the thing. if somebody says no over something small that really isn't a big deal and won't create any inconvenience really to them, like they got to find a coaster, that shows you, is this someone you can trust? Is this someone who really cares about having a relationship that works for you both? Well, I'm seeing
sometimes
a lot of
that's
recognition on your face.
God. And that's sometimes hard. Like, that's hard, like, to realize, like, ugh, you really just handled this like that. Like, sometimes we don't always want to see it. Like, and that's part of the problem. We don't always want to see, like, these things in the people that we're close to or that we love. And I mean, Claire and I, with many things in our life, we walk towards it. We're like, oh, this is what it is. Like, I got to get through this. Walking around it isn't gonna, like, they're still gonna be there doing this thing. Like, why avoid it? Just kind of hit it head on and be like, okay. And then it enacts your personal power as well, because then you get the choice. It's like, I'm going to choose to put a little distance in this relationship. I'm going to choose to completely be done with this relationship.
Right.
There are some cases where it's like, if it seems a little out of character for the person, or it's kind of like really left field, it might be like, is everything okay? Like, you know what I mean? You might want to check in with them and be like, maybe this wasn't the right situation to bring it up. Because sometimes, I mean, I can be hit sideways with things, and depending on what's going on in my life, I may have a kind of off the wall answer. And then I usually come back to it because of who I am. And I'm like, hey, like, I know I said this. I know I reacted this way to this. Like, that was because of this, this, and this. And let's get through what we were talking about. But yeah, there's been a lot of times where I've brought something to somebody and I'm like,
oh shit.
Okay. But
yeah,
me not what it, like, I'm burying my head in the sand. I know it exists. It's like the needs. Now I know that they're there. Like, if I ignore it, I'm just going to be like negatively impacting myself more.
Well, and not only that, but you're aware that that's likely to happen now. So there's going to be this constant underlying insecurity, because you're just going to be waiting for the next time it happens. It's not an if it happens, it's a when it happens. And I think the other thing, oh, damn it, it came and it went. There was something else I was going to say.
In relationship to what?
I don't know.
Oh, I was hoping that would trigger it. Like, maybe I can, maybe if she doesn't think about thinking about it, she'll think about it.
Okay, so I had a real memory blank for
real
a second there. Yes, it was a real blip. The other thing I was going to say to kind of add to this is, like, when you are good at having these uncomfortable conversations, what you can actually do, and I think this is kind of the next step on from this, is you get to the point where you preempt the potential for an uncomfortable conversation. So let me give you an example. So Serena and I are, we work on a lot of creative stuff together. So Serena will do something and send it to me, or I'll do something and send it to her, and we back and forth and back and forth and back and forth there. Now this week, we've actually been doing that with some designs for something that we are working on together. And it's been a weird week because Serena's been traveling. We haven't been in contact and communication the way, like, normally we speak at least 3 times a week because of our work. We haven't spoken. It was probably over a week, I think it was. I think it was like last Wednesday or whatever. And we were also trying to do this work while we were doing that. So normally what would happen is that we would, like, there'd be a little bit of back and forth, and then we'd have a call. And in that call, we'd be able to kind of relay tone and qualify things. But when you're doing things based on just text, sometimes, like, you don't have the capacity to put in all of the things you would ideally say if you were speaking to someone in person. And so Serena had been, like, worked on all these designs and put all this time and effort into something and sent it to me. And then some of these things just weren't landing with me. Like, it wasn't that they were bad designs. They were great. But there were things about them that were a little off. For me personally, just where it was landing with the way that my brain processes information. So I was kind of going back, and at one point, I think it was yesterday, we actually spoke really briefly about things, and I said to Serena, look, I just want to say, I'm trying to preempt any gremlin activity here, and it's like, I didn't think Serena was uncomfortable with what was going on, but I was just like, you know what? It's not worth the risk. I'm going to say ahead of time, I just want you to know, I really appreciate all the time and energy you put into these. I love a lot of the designs, and I don't want you to think that me redesigning and sending it back to you is like, well, she didn't do a good enough job. I can do it better than she can and send it her way. And that wasn't because there was an uncomfortable situation that needed to be addressed. It was, okay, this could potentially be an uncomfortable situation. Let's have the conversation. So there's not even any, because normally if there's in one of these situations, it's because somebody's been impacted. And so how do we preempt the impact so that we move ahead of it, so we don't have to go through the impact in the first place? And that, when you get to that place where, and it's gone both directions, Serena and I both done this, like, I'm just going to let you know, in case your gremlin might go in this direction, or in case this might come up for you, or in case, I know that Serena's been like traveling, so she's probably been tired. She probably hasn't been sleeping as well as she would do normally. So her capacity is probably going to be a little lower. So I'm just going to manage that and be like, hey, just want to make sure that you know, I appreciate this. And I'm like supporting the needs wherever I can. And I'm also doing what I can to address any potential risks to the needs, so that Serena doesn't, there's no, and it was funny because in the call, Serena was like, hadn't even crossed my mind. Like, I was like, and also said, I really appreciate you saying that. So it wasn't like hasn't crossed my mind, what the fuck are you talking about? That wasn't an occurrence to me, because this is how we work. We've done this so many times now, and we know that both of us are just trying to come up with the best possible, get to the best possible design from our combined efforts. And thank you, because the fact that you're saying that shows that you care about me, shows that you don't want there to be any negative impact, and is trying to address it before you even get to that point. So by being willing to go into the discomfort and get super comfortable with those conversations, you actually can get to the point where you can preempt the discomfort and avoid it completely, which is like it's like the next level of this. And the reason that you can get to that point is that I don't mind seeking out a discomfort, a potential discomfort that may not even be there. That's what I'm doing in that, is I'm going, this could be something you might be feeling uncomfortable about. Let me just check in about that. I'm walking towards the discomfort even when I'm not the one that's been impacted, if there's a potential or a risk that Serena is. So it's like, it's being so willing to go into the discomfort because you've built that capacity that you can go into it at any possible moment, to ensure that nobody's to minimize the negative impact to people's needs in the context of your relationship. And that, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's been so helpful. And people that I've met in recent years, like we've talked about, like, I am not the same person I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, nope. 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That was a different time.
Who's she?
Right. And there have been situations where, like, I've been in new friendships, cultivating new relationships, and I've done these types of things. Like, there was actually one time with somebody who I'm pretty close with now, and her husband and I clicked really well. Like, it was instant, like, really chummy best friend, and he had his arm around me at one point. Like, I'm a snuggly person, so I was like, you know, just kind of like snuggled into him, not like in any sort of way, but just like, hey big bro type of,
just comfortable, like friendly, yeah. Like the way that Serena and I would be, they all over each other at times, like, yeah, without like, any issue, yeah,
chummy. And because I have a lot of relationships like that. So I was like, oh yeah, there's nothing, like, this isn't weird. And I took myself out of it for a second. I'm like, okay, this is a new friendship. She doesn't know me very well. We haven't cultivated like this super strong foundation and trust. So I went to her and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I realized, like, after the fact that could have looked, you know, a certain way. I just want to let you know. Yeah, it was like, there was nothing like that. And, you know, if it bothers you, like, please let me know. Like, I'm happy to, you know, be aware of this.
It up.
Yeah. And she was like, no, that's how he is with people that he really gets along with, and it's fine. And it was kind of like I didn't even think about it, but you could feel an energy switch where it was like, oh, she like,
Oh,
this is somebody
you
who's going
care
to be
about this.
upfront with this stuff. You
Mm,
care, you're giving thought to the things that you're
mm,
doing. And I do think like it's not something I ever thought of until this moment. And I don't know that she's ever thought of it, but it's a pivotal point in the
yes.
foundation of our friendship where I stepped into that potential discomfort and was like, no, you can say to me what you need to say if something's not working for you. Like, and that
Right.
just changed the trajectory of everything thereafter in a positive way for us.
Right. Well, and it's interesting. Like, I mean, even, and sometimes the discomfort, the uncomfortable conversation isn't even necessarily something the other person's done. It might just be asking for something that you need in a context of a society where most people don't really give a damn about what anyone else needs. Like, not
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, not, not really, but also, yes, really. Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
kind
like
of.
a lot of people don't really pay much attention to it, or they're so focused on that because our needs are so unmet. We're so focused on what we need for our needs to get met that if anyone does anything that's slightly offside from that, then we're like, oh god, that person's not, no, I don't like how they're behaving or what have you. But I had a situation with somebody who I like, somebody who I'd met. Somebody I would have considered a friend, but not a close friend. And we hung out earlier on this week, and every time I asked for what I needed, simple things like we were sat on a bench next to each other and I was facing one way, and I suddenly realized my neck was starting to get a bit tense because I was looking one way. I was like, can you do me a favor? Like, would you mind moving up and swapping sides with me so I can point my neck in the other direction just so I don't get tension? Things like there were lots of like minor things like that. Every single time I asked if we could walk a little slower, every single time I was like, thank you for letting me know that. Thank you for letting me know that. That from the jump, I'm like, I feel closer to this person than I do to a lot of my wider circle of friends, obviously not my close people, but I'm like, she's already shown she's somebody who cares about what works for me. And these things, none of these things were things that negatively impacted her. They were super easy yeses. But it wasn't just okay, it was a thank you. Like, I want to know. If somebody wants to know what works for you and wants to find a way of doing things that work for you both, immediately your trust is going to be cultivated and it's going to become stronger quicker. So it doesn't even have to be necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes we're anxious about, we feel uncomfortable expressing our needs. We feel uncomfortable asking for what we want because we have so much experience of people not really caring what we want, or it not mattering to people, or you can ask for what you want and then still they not give it to you, even if it's super easy and doesn't negatively impact them at all. So even just that space, like, that's another way you can like microdose this discomfort, is like asking for what you need and noticing. I mean, and it's like asking for what you need in self first ways, recognizing we're going to come at this from a self first approach. So I'm like, I'm going to ask for what I need, being mindful of the fact I'm not wanting it to be something that's going to negatively impact somebody else's needs. So I'm already coming at it from that point. I'm not going like, it's about what I need, I don't care the impact to anybody else. That's not what we're talking about here. You're going, I'm asking for what I need in a self first way, something that supports my needs but doesn't negatively impact other people's needs. But I'm actually going to voice it. I'm actually going to put it out there. And that discomfort of doing that is something you can do. Like, the more you do it, the more often you do it. And then you start to find the people who not only will tolerate what you need, but the people who invite what you need, the people who encourage what you need, the people who want you to have what you need. And those are the relationships that are, yeah, next level. Like, I mean, I'd never experienced it. For the longest time, I hadn't experienced a relationship like that. I've talked to, I've got literally a couple of friends who I have that kind of relationship with, and it's magical. I mean, I wish everybody would have this kind of relationship, because I think it's incredibly healing to have relationships with people who genuinely care about you, not to their detriment, but care about you and them, and want to find that mutual ground that's going to work for everyone. Anything you want to add before we kind of finish up?
No, I'm good.
So I'm going to invite you, or we're going to invite you to try out this kind of little microdosing discomfort over the next week or so. Because in our next episode, we're actually going to talk about how it's never too late to change. It's never too late to start meeting your needs. You're never too old to get to the point where you can start to create something different for yourself in life. And one of the things that is a component of that change is being willing to be a little uncomfortable, because change is often uncomfortable. So that if you can start microdosing this discomfort now, it's going to make it far easier when you get to that point where something's a little bit more challenging because it's a bit more emotionally charged around that change. So now is the time to start cultivating that capacity, so that if there are things that you want to change, that you've got the ability to do that. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with that episode. But between now and then, remember, stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, microdosing discomfort is how you build your capacity for it, which is how you create more of what you want in life.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.